Welcome to another episode of Jazz Sports Talk, and welcome to the playoffs of the NFL 2024-25 season. That's right, we are down to the final 14 teams in the playoffs to determine who is going to lift the Vince Lombardi Trophy in the Big Easy. We know the roads of the AFC and NFC must run through Kansas City and Detroit, respectively, as Detroit has become the first time ever in franchise history the number one seed in the playoff. But before we dive into all that nonsense that we have for the playoff picks, let's do a quick look back at the final week of the NFL season, where I stated I was probably going to go 8-8. Actually, it went pretty good. I went 11-5. So I was quite shocked with that one. One of the few surprises out there was the fact that Carolina knocked off Atlanta. That ensured Tampa Bay won the NASCAR division. Chicago goes to Green Bay and wins on a walk-off field goal. Something they've been struggling to do all season, and they finally did it at the end of the year. We should be tanking to get a higher draft pick, but of course, you're looking probably to get a lineman at this point in time, because I think they settled on the 10th overall pick. So, probably good lineman, maybe offensive lineman, particularly maybe something on the defense. Then Houston wins in Tennessee. They were not going to get swept by Tennessee this year, so they sure that went on. I picked Tennessee because I didn't think Houston will play for anything. Indianapolis decided to beat Jacksonville. That was a coin toss. That was one of those games that I said just avoid if you could. I actually picked the Giants to beat Philly, especially with the star sitting for Philadelphia, but it didn't matter. Philadelphia was pretty good. Ended up winning that game, and all the other ones I called. I called for Tampa Bay to beat New Orleans. It was close, but they ended up doing it. I did call for Denver to beat Kansas City. Did not expect it to be a blowout, a shutout even. But looking down the list of the games that transpired, that was pretty good. That Detroit-Minnesota game was phenomenal. That was a very good game between those two. And just, highlights of what could happen. And Detroit's defense really stepped up and just hampered Minnesota's offense altogether. So just imagine them getting a week off to rest, maybe getting some more players back on that defense. And that defense is going to have more teeth and fangs to bite into opposing offenses. But all in all, I did extremely well, surprisingly, for the last week of the season. Normally I do extremely bad. And a lot of scenarios that were transpired ended up happening. Playoff field got set. Tampa Bay winning, Atlanta losing, allowed the Buccaneers to get to the NFC South. Denver shutting out Kansas City gave them the final wildcard position. Washington winning, Green Bay losing. Washington leapfrogs Green Bay in playoff positioning. Detroit beat Minnesota. They get the North and the number one seed in the NFC. First time ever in franchise history. And the amount of NFL teams now with that head coach has expanded. Jacksonville, New England, Las Vegas, all fired head coaches. New England Kraft took responsibility for Mayo's positions. Like, I put him in a position he couldn't win. So he blamed himself. Antonio Pierce is gone for the Raiders. Doug Peterson's out for the Jaguars. You still have New Orleans, the New York Jets, and Chicago all up there. Chicago tried to interview Mike McCarthy. Cowboys told him no. Even though McCarthy, after the 14th, will be able to interview anyone. There's been talk of Carroll coming back into the ranks, and he wants to go to Chicago. Ryan is looking, trying to get back into coaching the Jets. I mean, so you can see Vrabel could be heading to New England as the head coach. I mean, he has interest there. So there's definitely a few interesting names being tossed out there and trying to figure out who's going to go where. You still have the OC from the Lions is definitely a head coaching job, probably in the AFC. So have them go down to Jacksonville. That would be interesting. I mean, Flores is getting a few interesting takes as well. So there's definitely going to be a few interesting head coaches coming next season. Of course, I mentioned that already. But there's also talks of possible some college football coaches. Look at Steve Sarkisian, Marcus Freeman, or a couple Days, another one, a couple of the names. But actually, all the guys are in the Final Four right now in college football are on the top of the list to be interviewed. Get some young blood into the NFL ranks. Maybe that's what they need. Who knows? But that's just a different topic altogether. That's not what we're here for. We're here to discuss the wild card weekend. That's right. 3 days of action and enjoyment for everyone to enjoy. So let's kick things off out there in H-Town as the NFC South Division winners, the Houston Texans, will play host to the Los Angeles Superchargers. The kick-off wild card weekend. And this should be a very good game between these two. Harbaugh's returning back to NFL, back to the playoffs. Of course, he was there. And Justin Herbert, they've had a good, decent team. 11-6 is not something to look down upon, even without some of the key players that are missing. You also have the aspects of these two defenses as well, looking pretty solid as well, with Bosa leading the Chargers front. And Houston having some young talent on their defensive front to really spike everything up. But Houston's have had a few issues, especially against quality teams, towards the end of the year that it's put a question mark on them. And maybe a slight sophomore slump from C.J. Stroud at the wrong possible time, I might add. But this is one of the reasons why I didn't have Houston winning the South anyways, because I figured C.J. Stroud would have a sophomore slump and the Texans would miss out on the playoffs. But the team is too talented, it gets too much pride to not go forward. And, of course, having Mixon there really kind of helps out that rushing the attack. Nico Collins is a very good wide receiver for the Houston Texans. And McConkey for the Chargers is really developed into a very versatile receiver for Justin Herbert, but also having J.K. Dobbins is going to be a huge he's also not a huge factor for them to kind of balance the team out a bit. The Chargers don't light up the scoreboard. That is not their MO. I mean, yeah, the past few weeks they've had good success in light up scoreboard, but that's not really their style. Their style is to, grind you and trying to just wear you down emotionally and physically. That is their MO. Houston's complete opposite. They're looking to get those explosive plays out there. Houston's going to have those drives where they just can do no wrong and just march down the field and put up points. It's how the Chargers are going to retaliate to that. Can they match Houston's intensity and then shut them down when they have to? That is going to be a key factor. Herbert, great quarterback. C.J. Stroud has proven to be, the king of his class. Good defensive players, good receiving core, great coaches. I mean, this is a very good head-to-head matchup. Analytically, Chargers are favored by 53%. The Chargers have a 2.5 points spread advantage right now. I do think this will be a very close game. I do foresee this to go back and forth for a while. It's what happens in the second half I think is going to determine everything. I think Houston come out in the second half, get an initial touchdown, and that's it. The points are just going to stop. They'll be at 20. And the Chargers will be able to win by 4. Possibly. I don't know. I'll go on 24-20 Chargers. It's kind of a unique aspect with this one, because I do think these two will play tough against each other. But I have a feeling, I think the Chargers could win by 3 or 4 points. That's why I'm saying 24-20, but I do think the Chargers will end up winning and beating Houston to move on to the divisionals. And to continue on our Saturday trek, we get to see a very familiar game ahead. Pittsburgh is going to head to Baltimore. That's right. These two will clash in the wild card weekend. And this is the same Pittsburgh team and Baltimore are having problems with. So for 3 weeks ago, where Baltimore just lit them up. And a lot of it was the fact that Russell Wilson's production has dipped back down again. Things have kind of went south in Pittsburgh. They have lost 4 in a row. They haven't went past 17 points. I mean, their final week against Cincinnati, they were battling back and forth, but Cincinnati just proved to be a little better team. I don't know what's transpiring with the Steelers offensively. There's something just not clicking. Receivers are dropping the ball, turnovers. The defense can only do so much. If they're on the field constantly, they're going to get tired. They're going, cough with the big play because they get out of position, because they don't have the speed much. And then, puts Russell Wilson behind the ball down. He's going to force it more, which is going to create more turnovers, which means the defense back out there, and it's just a constant theme. The one thing that is going to hamper Baltimore is Zay Flowers. Looks like he may not be able to go against the Steelers, and that's a huge target for Lamar Jackson to lose. He's going to start to spread the ball out a little bit more. And that may lead to other issues, because can Pittsburgh's defense stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson from running? No. Sorry. I don't care if you have TJ Watt. That's a hard thing to do, to stop those two guys. Now, for the Baltimore's defense to stop Najee Harris, no problem. Can Najee Harris hang on the ball? That's another issue. Can Russell Wilson hang onto the ball? That's another issue. But you also have the monkey in the back that Lamar Jackson has when dealing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He only has 2 wins against them his entire career. And one came 3 weeks ago. Can the Baltimore Ravens repeat that performance? I don't think it'll be as dominant as it was. Analytically, Baltimore is at 72%. They have an 8.5 point spread advantage right now. I don't see him scoring 34 points again. I see this game a lot closer. I say more of a 24-17. So I'll probably take Pittsburgh for the points. I do think it's going to be closer, just because how Pittsburgh plays it against Baltimore and how Lamar Jackson just can't seem to get them out of his head. But I think it's going to be Russell Wilson. No party end any hope for the Steelers. But this one could provide maybe the upset for the weekend. But I think in the end, Lamar's going to have a drive. That's going to be it. Just ice the game. And Baltimore will end up moving on in AFC playoffs. And Sunday. We kick things up there in Western New York. Strange how the AFC went 1-2-3. I'm surprised no NFC games were set on Saturday. But anyways, the Buffalo Bills will play host to the Denver Broncos in a very unique matchup, because not too many people are talking about Denver. I think Denver definitely is ahead of themselves in terms of being ready for this particular moment. Sean Payton's realized, hey, we're like a year ahead of schedule. This is great. And Bo Nix has really shined as as the rookie quarterback of the Broncos. Josh Allen has been Superman. He's going to be that focal point. But Denver's defense is going to be a huge factor. They are stifling. Their secondary is opportunistic. And if Josh Allen makes the slightest mistake, it could go back the opposite direction. And that's going to spell doom for the Buffalo Bills. And that offense for Denver is going to test Buffalo's defense. And we know Buffalo's defense is about as strong as a wet paper bag. So this is going to be a huge game between these two. And we've seen the Bills get into shootouts, and it's kind of a 50-50 in how they end up. I mean, you saw it against the Rams when they lost by 2 after scoring 86 points combined. And then the next week against Detroit, they put up 90 points combined and then winning by 6. It's going to be a track meet between these two. These two are going to have well, no, let me take that back. Denver's defense is not going to let this be a track meet. That's what I meant to say. But can Buffalo's defense skew things up enough for Bo Nix to be able to have him make mistakes? Maybe the cold will be a little too much for him because, lake effect snow is going to be different than mile-high snow. It's an interesting take. Right now, analytically, Buffalo, 68%. Point spread, Buffalo at 8. Take Denver for the points. This, I think, is probably going to be one of the games to watch out for in terms of upsets. Not many people are taking Denver seriously. Not people are taking Denver's defense seriously. I mean, yeah, they've had some issues where they do allow a lot of points. I mean, you saw that against Cleveland, the Chargers, the Bengals. But when push comes to shove, they come out. But I do think it's going to be a close game. Probably going to go 35-32 Buffalo. I do think the Bills will end up winning this game. They're going to be one of the key factors in the AFC. And, of course, doing this ensures their victory into divisionals where they get to host Baltimore as the Chargers head to Kansas City. That's how my pick will go. We'll see what happens there. Over to the city of brotherly love as Green Bay limps into Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Right now, Jalen Hurts has not been officially cleared of concussion protocol, but he has been practicing limitedly. So more likely he will be clearing that. One of the problems that Buffalo have is Green Bay will have. Good grief. Green Bay is going to be limping in there. Question Watson looked like he torn his ACL against the Bears in week 18. You also have the elbow of Jordan Love as well. Well, then he goes out. You have Malik Willis, who's actually pretty good in there in Green Bay. So there's a few different aspects here that kind of to look at, and that's just fucking weird. But you look at Philadelphia, you also have injury bugs to worry about as well as A.J. Brown's questionable, Jalen Hurst. So there are some issues on the Philadelphia side. It's just which defense are you going to trust more? Right now, Philly's defense has really stepped up. The Georgia boys are just running amok for the Eagles, and it's going to be a huge factor in them determining that. We've seen the struggles Green Bay's had the past couple weeks, losing heartbreakers to both Minnesota and Green Bay. Does that continue? You have 3 losses in the last 5 games, all against division opponents, all by less than 3 points, 3 points or less. I have a feeling it's going to be a very similar aspect between these two. This is going to be another one of these games where you could probably see Green Bay going in there winning. I mean, this is really similar to what happened when Dallas hosted Green Bay a few years back, and Green Bay just destroyed them. But Jordan Love just needs one hit on that elbow. That's it. The things are going to go different. Not having Watson is going to be will kind of hamper him a bit, even though Reed is normally his primary receiver. But having that dual threat right there is going to be a huge thing. Jacobs and Barkley, I think, will be the 2 focal points of both the Packers and Eagles, respectively. Can these guys dictate the game? And that's going to be the thing. Can Saquon jump backwards over the Green Bay defense? He probably won't be doing that this game. But these are 2 running backs that would, if given the opportunity, destroy defenses if given the chance. I can give it more to Barkley than I would to Jacobs. Analytically right now, very, very even. 51% advantage for Philadelphia. They only have a 3.5-point spread advantage. This is going to be a battle between these two. I do see this being a 2 to 3 point differential between these 2 teams. It's going to come to which team can dictate the pace of the game and limit touchdowns. Not many touchdowns I think is going to be scored in this game. I think it's going to be a field goal contest. So you saw how the 2 teams played that final week of the season. I kind of see that kind of thing happening. So like a weird score of 22-19, something really, really obscure score I think is going to happen. This is going to be a slobber knock between these 2. Heck, I probably can take the under for the points in this game. I think this is how this game's going to end up going. It's just, the key offensive players, or the 2 quarterbacks not being 100%, it's going to be a huge factor because one hit takes them both out. It's going to be how the running backs dictate this game, how the defense is going to stack up. I think Philly's defense is slightly better than Green Bay's, but we'll definitely see how things transpire. But I am taking Philadelphia to edge out Green Bay. Well, then we get to warm up as we head down to Tampa Bay as the Buccaneers will play host to the Commanders. And this should be a very interesting game. Jason Daniels has really risen up and became that elite guy that some people thought he could have been. I mean, definitely him transferring to LSU is probably what really helped elevate his exposure because he wasn't getting it in Arizona State. And being in Quinn's situation in Washington has really helped him out immensely. And he is no longer the same quarterback he was at the beginning of the season. Baker Mayfield is still Baker Mayfield. Doesn't matter which team he is on, be it Cleveland, the Rams, Carolina, or Tampa Bay. He is still going out there. He's still going to compete. He's going to make those throws going WTF. But when you have someone like Mike Evans to throw to, it makes things easy. Daniels has his counterpart in Scary Terry in Washington, which running game is going to be better. At least for Tampa Bay, they give it to Irving. And Irving right now is probably one of the best young running backs in the playoffs right now. But we've seen both teams be very gutty in the past month in terms of their games. They've went out. I mean, Tampa Bay's had definitely a few more games where they're able to, dominate a few teams. And they're struggling against New Orleans early, but then we're able to just step away. Washington was struggling against Dallas, ended up winning towards the end. So Washington's going to be one of these teams you can't not put away, and that's going to be dangerous for Tampa Bay. Because if Washington's able to stick around, they're going to make this a game. This is going to be a game to watch on NBC. Analytically, Tampa Bay's 58%. Point spread, 2.5 in favor of Tampa Bay. If you're going to pick an upset this weekend, this is the one to pick. I'm not going with the upset. I am sticking with Tampa Bay. I think even if you make Jason Daniels a one-dimensional quarterback, he's still dangerous. But taking away the running game allows for the Tampa Bay defense to go after him, but he's becoming more efficient in certain situations. Tampa Bay is a huge blitzing defense. He seems to do pretty well against blitzing defenses because he knows how to find the short, quick outs to eliminate that type of threat. But I think it's just the Baker Mayfield, the Baker element in this scenario, which is going to change how this game kind of goes. I do think it's probably going to be a little bit higher up in the points system. I do think it's kind of like a 35-32, 36-33 type of game. I do think it's going to be a 3-point differential between the two. But I think it's going to be that type of game between these two. But I do think Tampa Bay is going to edge out Washington in this matter. Then we have to SoFi when you got the Vikings coming to town, take on the Rams. And this should be fun. This should be really fun. Matthew Stafford with Puka Nacua and Cooper Rush hosting Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, and Justin Jefferson. I mean, that three right there is a heck of a combo for the Vikings. And the problem is, I think that Darnold's not going to be 100%. In the Detroit game, you saw him limping around a lot. He's getting hit. And his hands are getting hit. His arms are getting hit. He's going to be banged up. Now, the Rams' defense is probably not going to be as aggressive as Detroit's, so he has that advantage for him. But he's going to take on a team that's going to be very dangerous. And the fact that they're in the playoffs is really going to play hamper for a lot of teams. Yeah, they didn't win the last game, but this last game they had nothing to play for. So you start, you bench guys. Now they're able to play. They're fresh. They're rested. That's going to spell doom for Minnesota. And Matthew Stafford knows Minnesota very well. For many, many, many years he played in Detroit. He played these guys twice a year. He's very similar. He's familiar with these guys. Note, coaches change over time. Schemes change all the times. I get that. But the drive to beat a former divisional rival, it's going to be paramount in him. He's going to pick apart this defense. This defense is going to take whatever, this offense will take whatever the defense gives them. And that's going to be a slow, methodical drive. Something like, they did against Buffalo. They just took what the Bills gave them and went from it. The problem for the Rams is trying to stop Justin Jefferson and being, as well as Aaron Jones being dynamic factors themselves. So I do kind of think this one will probably be a bit of a track meet between the two. In the end, it's who can get enough hits on the quarterback to kind of affect the aspect of this game. That's going to be a huge factor in determining who is going to possibly come out on top. And right now, analytically, 54% Minnesota. Minnesota has a 2.5-point spread advantage. This is my upset. I'm going with the Rams to win at home. This is going to be a team that no one wants to face off. And it's going to be a interesting aspect of who is going to be the key factor in this one. Now, one thing to kind of take note is, will this game take place in LA or will it be moved because of the wildfires right now burning in LA? I haven't heard anything about that just of yet, but that's still a thing that could change. So allows, first responders in LA to concentrate on what's needed to be evacuations and containing a fire. So they could relocate this game. But I think this is going to be a really good game between these two. I am going to give it to LA to edge out Minnesota. I do kind of think it's going to be maybe a little bit high scoring affair. Maybe like a 37-35 type of game. But I will give it to the Rams to win, to move on to divisionals, which will kind of set up the Detroit. There we go. And then Tampa Bay will go visit Philadelphia. That's the divisional round. Go. That's my pick for the wild card weekend. My pick for the Super Bowls are still in there. So I still have Baltimore and Philadelphia. So right now, I'm still kind of going with those two heading towards New Orleans for the Super Bowl. But don't take nothing away from Kansas City, Detroit, or any other teams in here. They all got here for a reason. They're going to come up there. They're going to battle back and forth. And there's definitely a few games on there you could probably look at and go, we kind of see it go this way. So there's like no true runaway team in this wild card. And that's what we love. That's what we want. We want matchups that we go, okay, yeah, this is going to be it. And these are going to be good games. And I have no question about that. So we have 3 days to enjoy all this football, soak it all in. Enjoyable. Technically 5 days to include the 2 college games on Thursday and Friday. I mean, 5 days of postseason football. It's glorious. But hey, let me know what you think down below. Which game you think I got wrong? Are your Super Bowl picks still in the mix? How'd your team fare this season? Mine not so much. They got the 10th pick in the upcoming draft, so we'll see what happens with that one. Interesting days, say the least. So make up the comments. The more interact, the more it boosts the algorithm, the more this video gets out to the faces of other people to get to hear my annoying voice and my side rants and all the other nonsensical nonsense I talk about. Another thing to do is support this channel. Is hit that thumbs up. Especially like what I'm doing. Especially all my nonsensical nonsense that I unnecessarily speak about. You can also subscribe. The only thing you can do is click that subscribe button. Click that bell icon, turn on notifications until next time I post any more content on my channel. I'll see you next time. Chat Sports Talk.